Are you looking for an easy and relaxing quilt block project that uses up all of your fabric scraps? I'm not sure about using up all of them, but we're going to try to put a dent in this. Let me show you how to make a string quilt block using fabric scraps. It'll come out looking like this. They are so beautiful. Hi friends, my name is Jackie. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Today I'm excited to share one of my all-time favorite scrap busting projects, string quilt blocks. These blocks are perfect because they're simple, forgiving, and easy to make. There's no precise measuring or cutting. Just grab your fabric scraps and start sewing. It's that easy. I'm going to guide you step by step, and I'll share some tips along the way. So let's get started. First of all, I want to give you a little history on string quilt blocks. The string quilt block dates back to the early 20th century. That's when fabric was scarce. It could be made from the smallest of fabric scraps so that no fabric would be wasted. Women made them from old clothing and blankets, and even sometimes worn out quilts. So let me bring you to the table and we'll get started. The first thing you want to do is gather your materials. You're going to want some fabric scraps or strips that are 1 to 2.5 inches wide. These are what I cut out of this basket. So just grab some fabric scraps, a foundation fabric, interfacing or paper squares. You'll cut those to the size that you want. I'm cutting mine to 9 inches. And I am using Pellon interfacing because this is for a project that I will be showing you shortly in another video. So I cut these to 9.5 so that I could square them up to 9 inches. So we have the interfacing, but you could use, like I said, paper. If you wanted to do the quilt block right away, you could do your layer of batting and then your backing fabric and quilt right on there to make your quilt blocks, because I'm going to be showing you today how you can join those very easily. You'll need your rotary cutter and a ruler for trimming, and pens, or if you want to use a dab of fabric glue to hold the first strip in place while you sew it. What we're going to do to get started is simply take our foundation piece. In this case, we're using the Pellon, and I know it's hard to see, but this is my 9.5 inch square piece of Pellon interfacing. You're simply going to grab a strip. You may need to trim it. The goal is to go from one corner to the other. So just trim your fabric to that. And just for reference, from here to here, that size is about 13.5. So your biggest pieces will need to be 13.5. So if that helps. So we have this face up. Our next piece of fabric, just grab this one. Will this one fit if I flip it? No, so I need a longer piece. So we'll just trim that one. And these are about the same size, but they could be from 1 inch to 2.5 inches wide so that you have variations. You'll want to make it your own. We're going to lay this face down on the interfacing, just like that. I am going to pin just so I can get it to the sewing machine. We just want to make sure the corner is even with the edge of the fabric. Just like that. So here's the corner of the interfacing, here's the corner. We're going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, whoops, all the way across. When we get back, we will flip this open. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'll show you one of the stitch and flip. That's what it's called. I'll be right back. All right, we're at the sewing machine. I've got my 1/4 inch foot in, and I'm going to start at the corner up here. And I'm just measuring a 1/4 inch from the seam. And we're just going to sew all the way across. And that is it. And then you'll flip it open, finger press for now. Next, we're ready for another piece of fabric. Let's see if this one will work. No. How about this one? I think so. Back to the sewing machine. 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down. Here's our 1/4 inch seam. We're going to flip that open, finger press. Let's grab another fabric. See how easy that is. Let's try this one. I think that one will work. Right sides together to the sewing machine. Let's flip it. This would be a great time if you had scraps that were triangles. This one isn't quite big enough. Let's see what we have in here. It has to be able to cover the end. If not, we'll use 2 little pieces. I think this one would work. And then we'll end up with one on the end. Let's flip that one. Then you could take an itty bitty piece, put that there, and sew across there. Right sides together. And we just want to make sure when we flip, it covers the end. And look at that. This is halfway done, this one block. So we'll turn it around where we first started, and we're going to grab another strip. Let's see if this will cover. Yes, it will. We'll go ahead and do a 1/4 inch seam along that. Flip it up, finger press. Let's see what else we have here. I'll go ahead and trim this one. 1/4 inch seam. And remember that little triangle I had? That might work there. So we're going to flip that way. 1/4 inch seam, and that will cover that up. It doesn't look like much right now, right? So let's give this a press. We'll press from the center out, and then we'll give it a trim. If you had a system down where you just took your scraps and you took an afternoon watching a movie or something and just made a bunch of strips, then cut out your foundation pieces, whether it be batting and backing fabrics or just the interfacing, you would have a ton of quilt blocks. All right, here's the back. Let's bring up our cutting mat. We're going to square this up to 9 inches. So I have one square edge here. So I'm going to move that over to the edge here, and I want it at 9 inches because for the project I'm doing, these need to be 9-inch square. Same thing for over here. We'll square up this side. This has a square edge, so I'll bring it over here for 9 inches. There is our quilt block. Look at that, so fast. And here's what the back looks like. nice and clean, because when you're doing the stitch and flip, the seams seem to fold over nice. I'm just giving it one more press here because I noticed that some of the interfacing did not catch. Here we go. So now we have 2. We need 1 more for the upcoming project. I'll do that really quick and I will be back to show you the 3rd block. I'm back from the sewing machine. Let's get this pressed out and trimmed. And I did time myself, and it took 6 minutes to make this particular block. So this one was 9.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 strips of scrap fabric. So it's fast, it's a scrap buster, it's perfect. You can use it in all kinds of quilting projects. Let's get this pressed down. And I did mess up, I used 2 fabrics twice, but it will be fine. It's okay. Flip it over. Get it trimmed up to 9 inches. Trim this side up. Measure 9 inches. That looks like a really nice quilt block, doesn't it? Now there we have 3 beautiful quilt blocks. 6 minutes each, probably faster if you're faster than I am. I promised to show you how I am joining these. So we'll go to the sewing machine. I need to get set up over there. We're at the sewing machine. I'm going to switch out my foot to a zigzag foot. I'm going to use a zigzag stitch with a width of 5 and a length of 3. And then what I'm going to do, I am simply going to butt up these 2 together, keeping my eye on the center of my foot. I'll move my hand so you can see. And make sure both pieces of fabric are centered, and make sure you have these the way you want them. I think I'll go like that. Yeah, I like that. Put my needle down. Start slow. And you just want to make sure you catch both sides, and keeping your eye on the center of the foot. And that's how we're going to join these. And if you need to, really put them together, because sometimes they'll try to pucker. And then if you need to, lift the foot, push it back down. And these 2 are joined, just like that. Don't worry, I know it's not very pretty right now. We're going to join these 2, and again, line them up how you'd like. I like this. Make sure they're even at the top as best you can. We'll do our zigzag. And it's okay if it's puckering, because you're not even going to see this join. There is that. And it's together. And yes, if you wanted to do a decorative stitch, you could just leave it like that. I wanted to try something. I have to go and grab some binding. This is just regular binding, seam binding, and I just, instead of it being like this, like a 1/2 inch, I just opened it up and ironed it. I don't even know what kind this is. This measures at this width 1 inch. And what I'm going to do is take this seam binding Go over a little and making sure that the center of the seam binding matches up with that zigzag. And if you want, you can pin it. And then I'm going to use my regular foot. Get rid of the zigzag foot. Let's see if this is the regular foot. Here we go. And if you want, you could pin it. I think I will go and do that. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to sew a straight stitch, and then we're going to be really close to this edge. I would say 1/8 of an inch. And just sew all the way down. Before going too far, we're going to go down the other side. Now I know that this is a stark white seam binding, but I just grabbed it out of my stash so that I could show you the technique. But I still think it'll be pretty. And that's what it looks like. It's joined. And I know it has that center, but it's perfectly fine. All right, let's do this one real quick and we'll head back to the table. Now that your quilt blocks are finished and they're joined, first, let me give you a few tips. Let's say you used a sandwich, you used your quilt top, batting, and a backing fabric, and you wanted to join these. You would take a smaller piece of binding, smaller than this one that I used, put it on the back, after you zigzagged, of course, sew that on just like I did this one, put it on the back, then you're going to take the larger piece and sew just like I did, and it will cover up the stitching of the little one, if that makes sense. You're going to have the smaller piece on the back. I'll try to do a video on that. Just let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that, and I'll show you that. What else did I want to tell you? If you wanted, you could do some crazy quilt stitching on here. But now that your string quilt blocks are finished, you're all set for our next project. Drum roll, please. It's going to be the Scrappy 30-minute table runner. In that video, I'm going to show you how to transform these beautiful string quilt blocks into a quick to make table runner. And it's going to be so charming. So click the link here or check out the description box below for that tutorial. I will be putting that up today as well. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Happy string block quilting, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless you.